I tried to film this reading once already and it ended up being an hour long. And we dove really in deep into these messages. And then for whatever reason, probably Mercury retrograde, most likely, there was no audio on the video. There was no audio at all. So this is take 2 of this reading. It's not going to be the same as the first one. It can't be. Each reading is like a freaking fingerprint. It's so unique. But I'm going to try and summarize what I can that came through in that reading. I'm going to find out what the message that does actually want to come through is and how this is related to eclipse season, because I do feel a lot, okay, like a lot of an astrological influence right now. It's been intense. Eclipse season is happening on March 14th. The lunar eclipse in Virgo, or is it the lunar eclipse, I think, in Virgo is the first one. And it's just, the build up to it has been like a week's worth of density. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of emotional rising to the surface. And that's what we were talking about in the first part of the reading. So this is going to be an eclipse reading. We're going to start from scratch. Maybe that's what this energy is all about. We're just going to start from scratch here. We're going to reset and we're going to do round 2. Okay, let's do it. So first, I want to say a big thank you to Mache, who sent in the archetypes deck to us, the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck. I unboxed it in that video. We're going to use that deck still. So I'll leave the guidebook out. And then we've got these 2 other decks and some charms from Michelle. Thank you to Michelle. The Woodland Wardens by Jessica Rue. This is from Michelle. And we've got The Secret Garden by Jessica Lay. Oh, that's interesting that these are both by somebody named Jessica. And then we've got some charms here as well, which I will open up and add to the charm basket. And we'll get some of those too. All right. I just realized that maybe this full moon has something, or this lunar cycle, maybe this lunar eclipse has something to do with trusting and following your intuition, and that being a little cloudy right now because of the astrological influences that are going on. Because I feel like my intuition is usually pretty on, you know, like I can trust it, and I do trust it, but I definitely have felt like there's been interference in a way through these transits, whatever. Oh, right on the bottom, before I even shuffle this deck, we've got the Adapt card. You will get yourself where you want to be. I was seeing balloon animals today. And that's usually my sort of charm or my symbol for adaptability, flexibility, because it starts out as a long tube and you have to kind of like twist it up and knot it together, make it into this thing. Plastic has to be pretty pliable. Otherwise, it would just pop. So adaptability, that's message number 1. So let's go in with the archetypes deck first to get messages for this eclipse season. What does the collective need to know right now? What energies are we working with? What's hidden from us? Because I have been seeing a lot of synchronicities about hidden things. The Secret Garden even kind of talks about that, something hidden. And they were showing me references to the woods, and that's what we talked about in the first reading, was like lost in the woods, going into the woods, the dark woods, and the unconscious realm. So let's see. This card came up in the first reading, the Storm. It's kind of like the Tower card. So anything that was stable is kind of crumbling down right now. And I'm hearing interference. Again, I was referring to that in regard to the intuition. So I feel like that is the message here, but maybe I just wasn't hitting on it precisely in the first reading, and we kind of needed a second pass to be able to get it, to really nail it down. And I feel like this may be part of the message too, is that eclipse season is kind of like a redo or a reset. We've got a lot of retrogrades going on right now too. I'm not an astrologer. I'm an energy reader. But that being said, I can usually feel the astrology before it happens. I start picking up on themes, synchronicities, spirit will show me or channel to me stuff, and then I'll research it after. I'll just Google it or watch astrology channels, and it's pretty spot on every time. So this could be about this shakeup that's happening right now. The interference feels a little confounding or confusing, but ultimately it's breaking things down so that this rebuild can occur, so that the reset can take place. You can't make this shit up. I didn't delete that video yet, so if I still have it, I put it in the delete box, but I didn't actually delete it yet. I didn't like wipe it. So I'm gonna see if I can retrieve some of that footage, even though it has no sound, and overlay it here, because I want to show you guys that these same freaking cards are coming out. The dead end. This was on the bottom of the deck the first time, and I read through all of these, and the message was really deep. So maybe there's, yeah, because if you come to a dead end in like a maze or a labyrinth or in the dark forest, what do? Well, you have to turn around and retrace your steps. And if the intuition is kind of confounded, I keep getting that word confounded. If it's confounded in some way, it's going to make it more challenging to feel which direction to go. So it's okay if you need to retrace your steps right now, or if you need to go back and review something at this time. The destroyer. Yeah, in the main reading, we were talking about this destroyer type energy. It's connected to that storm card, and it feels to me like there's a big die-off or like a death process that's occurring. And I want to get clarifiers from the Woodland Wardens deck. The sheep and blackberry, devotion. Devotion. Devotion through the storm. Perseverance, adaptability, flexibility. Because what does a tree, or what does the forest, because they just showed me a forest, and I just now realized that a single tree is a person, the forest is the collective. Okay, so what does the forest need when it's in a storm? It needs to bend. It needs to be flexible because the wind is roaring, lightning is striking, and so you need to be grounded and you need to be flexible. So devotion amidst the storm, amidst the chaos, because when something chaotic is happening, it's because this destruction process needs to occur, because it is through destruction that we have the potential for new things, new life. The coyote and datura, deceit. I've been feeling a lot of this confusing, confounding, deceitful, devious type energy coming up. And the word diabolical has been haunting me for the past week or so. And references to maniacal laughter. And I'm like, I don't really like the vibe of that. But and I've had references to both positive implications of that, like silly laughter or maniacal laughter because a deceitful prank or diabolical plan failed. And so you're kind of laughing at the stupidity of that plan having failed or backfired in some way. But originally I was like, it feels a little ominous. Like, is there some kind of diabolical plan or devilish intent going on behind the scenes collectively that is causing this interference, that is creating this chaos or destruction? It's like trickster type energy. But I think at the end of the day, this is working for us and through us archetypally right now to help us to express some of these destruction energies in a healthy way. So I don't think it's playing out literally, at least I hope not. It's more so I'm just getting this vibe of exploring some of the messy bits, like the imperfections, the chaos where things are not structured. And it's interesting because pretty sure that this lunar eclipse is in Virgo, and Virgo is all about orderliness, cleanliness. It's like the opposite of this chaos and destruction energy, but maybe this is what it's all about. It's like to wipe the slate clean. We got to sort of start from scratch. The otter and cattail, peace. And then we achieve peace. And boundaries came out with it, the porcupine and anemone boundaries. So having healthy boundaries is going to be really, really crucial, because as things fall away, and we have determination as well, because when things fall away, we have to be really determined and devoted to this peace, to our peace, which means boundaries with the outside world, boundaries with that chaotic energy, boundaries with yourself. If you come to a dead end, not getting frustrated or letting yourself quit. It's like staying devoted to your peace, staying devoted to, I'm just hearing your timeline, staying devoted to your highest timeline. Okay. And what that looks and feels like for you, despite some of this more uncomfortable energy that's coming up, because it is uncomfortable. I've been sitting in it for about a week now, and I've had some highs and I've had some low lows. It just is what it is. It's a roller coaster. But if we can see it for what it is, we can traverse it a little bit more steadily, I think, and adapt to it as these energies kind of move. So let's get some from the Secret Garden deck. What do we need to know here? Bloom and attract more than butterflies. Bloom and attract more than butterflies. It's one of these cards, one of these types of decks that it does not like to focus. There we go. Bloom and attract more than butterflies. What are we attracting here for the lunar eclipse energy? What is the collective attracting as we collectively bloom? It's like a flower weathering a storm. Serenity. Value quiet days with only the rustling leaves breaking the silence. And I did notice that on the cover of this deck, it says enchanting messages for quiet spaces. So peace, silence, quiet. Storms are loud. Destruction is loud. But at the end of this tornado is the eye of the storm. I'm getting this feeling, and I'm hearing quietude. Quietude. What is that? Like a quiet attitude? I don't know. No. Maybe setting boundaries with ourselves so we can incorporate more time for silence, because what we're attracting and what we're meant to be creating more of, ironically, through this process of destruction, is peace, serenity. Yeah, beginnings, don't be afraid to start small, and success, bloom wherever you are planted. So this is the beginning of success. I've seen references to success all day today. And it's funny because I felt frustrated because that reading failed. It doesn't happen very often that I film an entire hour. It was an hour and 2 minutes long, pre-editing. It's not often that just all that work is just out the window, but that's kind of sometimes the process of destruction. So it was destroyed for a reason. I don't know why. I'm just going to trust that it was. It was a dead end. We didn't need to go down that dead end. We need to focus on the beginning. We need to focus on the success. We need to focus on where we're going, not where we've been. And sometimes it is appropriate to focus on where we've been. It's helpful. But right now, in this energy with the eclipse, it's like we are starting something new. What? Okay, let me see what we starting. What are we starting? What comes after this dead end? What are we starting? That's going to be, clearly it's going to be successful. No, I'm going to keep shuffling. What are we starting that is going to be successful here? I'm hearing something about food and pastimes. That could be for someone specific. When they give me very, very unique messages like that, it's usually not part of the collective. It can be, but it's more often than not, it's for someone specific. Food and pastimes. Maybe it's like cooking. Devotion to a craft. Okay. I definitely feel patience is needed through the storm, to weather the storm, because even as I'm shuffling and shuffling and shuffling, nothing's coming out. So patience is required. There it is. Oh my God. It's the two cards that came out in the first reading. Yeah. Oh man. The mentor and the poet. So what you're starting here, what we're starting collectively through this eclipse portal, we are able to walk through destruction unscathed. We're able to find our way in the darkness when everything is crumbling and falling to pieces. We're able to walk confidently. Why? Because we understand the nature of this phase. It's not permanent. You're not going to get stuck there. You might hit some dead ends, but you're going to get the assistance you need, and you're going to pull yourself out. The ability right now to feel, to intuit, to sense at a much, much deeper level than the surface, like this is very deep diving energy with the poet. There is going to be a shift that comes from that. I'm seeing like a huge perspective shift, learning something fundamental that completely changes the way that you understand these archetypes that are playing out in your life around you and how they're connected to your shadow, how they're connected to what's being destroyed, and how they're connected to this new beginning that's going to bring success. You may also find mentorship, guidance, support through poetry, through stories, and through mythology, because that's what we were talking about in the first part of the reading. It was really deep diving into myths and legends, and Spirit was showing me themes to do with like literature, prose, canons, zeitgeist, collective thought, and how that evolves over time. Yeah, I do. I want to read those out of the book because I read them the first time and now I need a refresher. Okay, so the mentor, the teacher, the sage, the guru. It is said that cosmic knowledge pours down on the world like a great illuminated waterfall. This can be an overwhelming force. I feel like that's the storm energy. It's an overwhelming force. The true teacher, though, is said to be able to hold this flow of wisdom at bay while the student sips from a focused stream. The mentor archetype has a gift for reading the room, sensing the exact ingredient that will stimulate growth within the student, whether pleasant or painful. The mentor may appear aloof or available, harsh or tender, humorous or rigid. Their gift is to know what services the soul. Ultimately, the mentor is in service of the greater cosmic good and aids in the elevation of consciousness. This is what's happening right now. Anytime the mentor forgets this humble link and mistakes themselves for the source of enlightenment, the archetype falls into shadow. And then the poet, which is right next to it. The poet's work is to feel immensely and not be afraid. I'm hearing I just heard karmic dumping grounds. Okay. They must seek out truth in the darkest corners of the world and carry it back for all to see. I feel like that one of those dark corners is the dead end. Like this is one of those dark corners. A karmic dumping ground. Oh, that's why it's a dead end. This unique capacity resides within us all, regardless of our relationship to creativity. When the poet energy is present, there is a call for deep honesty and reflection, for seeing the big picture within the little one. The poet rides effortlessly between the personal and universal. It's possible that others may not seem to listen or care about the poet's work, but do not be discouraged. The words of the poet ring true for centuries to come. Soothing the wounds of despair and violence that captivate our world, the poet's work is never finished. Find your voice and trust that the wind will carry it. This feels like that wisdom, so like a poet mentor or gaining some kind of wisdom or insight through written word, perhaps. I feel like collectively there's going to be more mentors stepping forward in the form of authors. So people who are sharing, channeling, creating, like world building, basically, and being able to have that in the collective mental construct, in the canon of literature. It's really going to help to expand our basis of thought, is kind of what it feels like. So I would keep an eye out for new authors, people who are sharing stories that are maybe even based on old myths and legends, but with new spins on it. Something big is coming. I feel that, something big. And then we have surprises right after I said surprises, and it says venture down the rabbit hole. So there's going to be some surprises that we find when we go down those rabbit holes. Maybe it's into someone else's mind through their writing or through their work, through their poetry, or maybe it's in a show or a movie. It's like exploring the stories of our lives. And I was talking about in the first reading how we are all on our own hero's journey. And one of the messages was save yourself. You are the hero of your own life, and you are literally creating and choosing this adventure every single day. So when you identify and understand the pattern of the hero's journey, actually the mentor is one of those phases in the hero's journey. You can look up Joseph Campbell if you're not familiar with the hero's journey. And the mentor steps in to help the hero with knowledge, information, or perspective, or even sometimes tools or gifts that will help in completing the mission or overcoming the challenge, or really, even if it's just about personal development, getting to that next level. I'm hearing developing wisely. What do you mean developing wisely? Oh, there's that determination card again. Developing wisely through determination. And it's like to get to some kind of goal. What is the goal here? Peace, they said. The goal is peace. And in the first reading, we were talking about war a little bit. Like we were talking about the underworld and Hel and Loki, like Hel, Hel, the Norse goddess of the underworld. Loki, the trickster god. We were talking about the Morrigan, and she's like a herald of war. We're talking about Ares. Yeah, all of these gods of war. And animorphs came up, shape-shifting, healing powers. We were talking about like how those series it was a young adult series, but it was actually like the root of it was all war. It was like an intergalactic war. So I just completely lost my train of thought. Okay. The elk and ash, strength, and the chipmunk and laurel, success. Okay. So even if it feels like things are getting off track, even if it feels like things are not moving in the direction that you want them to move, understand that having strength in this phase is about adaptability, flexibility, and going down that rabbit hole, learning something, seeking some knowledge out, seeking someone who has that knowledge too. Like maybe it's a literal mentor. And being willing to get curious and learn and open your mind and see connections and understand these archetypes through mythology, through stories, through yourself, through shadow work too. Because this is what's going to lead to success. And the peace is the offering. I'm just hearing the peace is the offering. Metamorphosis. Oh, yes. I was talking about animorphs just there, like metamorphosis. In the books, they're able to transform into animals and then back into humans again. But only if they don't do it for too long, because they might lose themselves to that wild nature. And we were talking in that reading too about how when you domesticate an animal, biologically, it evolves and changes all of the DNA, hormone production. Everything changes when an animal is domesticated. And they did this with foxes. And they found that within like 6 generations, foxes became so much more docile when bred for traits of friendliness and positive temperament, to the point where like they were able to isolate that trait and it started to change some of the physiological structures. Like the phenotype of the genes was changing. The genes themselves were changing and adapting. So it's like this metamorphosis that we're going through on some level, not only is it healing us, like in the animorphs, when they morph into the animals and then back into humans, they're able to heal each time they do that. So they can get pretty like mangled in war and still survive because they're able to shapeshift in that way. It takes a lot of strength to go through that because you still have to feel all the feelings. But if you're determined enough and you're devoted to the cause, whatever this is, your own transformation, I'm hearing, if you're devoted to breaking yourself down and then building yourself back up again and literally or metaphorically shapeshifting in this way, you're going to see success come from that. And the success will be more peace, meaning that those fear centers are going to not be so active. You'll be able to feel more connection, less isolation, more peace in that sense of knowing that everything is working in divine order, even when there's chaos. And that's the most important thing to remember, is that even when there's chaos, there's order in the chaos, because there's phases to everything. Nothing is static and just stays as it is. It's always changing and evolving. Kitty is here. Kitty says hi. Kitty is for confirmation. We also have the temple. The temple. And they want me to read this from the book, so give me one sec. I'll find it. I just opened it to the dead end, so maybe we should read that too. Hi, Kitty. Oh, that's funny. I'm searching and searching and searching through the guidebook for the temple, and it was the page right before dead end. So it's like dead end and then temple. That's funny. And that reminds me, in the first reading I did, the mentor, the storm, and the poet, in the guidebook, I had to find the middle one first, then go back a page to the third one, and then go forward several pages to the first one. So it was like out of order, but there was an order to it. Okay, anyway. The dead end. Contrary to what its name implies, the dead end is very much alive. It is a force that stops us from moving forward as planned. It is thick, dense, and uncompromising. A wall beyond all walls. With every bramble, thorn, and stone, it simply states, "No more, child, you have reached the last page of this chapter." It is natural to resist its very resistance and struggle even harder to make our way, to prove our point, to hold on to what was. In this way, we fight with life itself. From a mythic perspective, the end you face is very much a beginning. That's the beginning. Yeah, the beginning. The beginnings. You can't even see this card because it's just not going to focus, but the beginnings. Trust me, it says it. There are doors opening all around you, just not the one you planned on walking through. If you are honest and courageous enough to accept, adjust, and adapt, the dead end becomes known as life's beginning. Yes, adapt. Yeah. Okay. And the temple. When we think of the temple, we often envision an architectural structure in a far-off land. We're quick to distance ourselves from the sacred, assuming we must expend much effort to arrive there. Yet the temple is a universal and omnipresent energy, accessible in the highest and lowest, richest and poorest of places. Visiting the temple might be as simple as stepping into the dappled light of the forest. The forest. Okay. Slowly and sensuously kissing a lover or closing your eyes to travel inward. I feel like that's where the peace is, right? This card is a call to re-examine what you pay homage to and what you reject. What do you spend your time worshiping? Your phone, money, material goods? What barriers do you draw between yourself and the sacred? Perhaps there is room on your altar for something new, something surprising. Offer it to the heavens. Didn't they say peace is the offering? Peace is the offering. Offer it to the heavens. Go to the temple in the forest, the solace of solitude within yourself. What barriers do you draw between you and yourself? That's the dead end, the karmic dumping ground. Something surprising. And we had the surprises card. Something surprising. Why is it surprising? Though indeed the temple travels with you, this card is interwoven with the pilgrim archetype. If you've been longing for a spiritual journey, book your tickets. This is like the spiritual journey. This is like the spiritual roller coaster of a lifetime. Everybody's waiting in line to get onto this ride. But once you're on it, it's scary as shit. But if you can just kind of relax and embrace the ride and go with these ups and downs, like lean into it, not away from it, knowing that you're safe and protected, that you have that boundary of yourself supporting yourself, then going through this wild ride and into this dark forest, it's not going to be quite so incapacitatingly scary. We're able to feel our fear, do it anyway, and maybe if we're brave enough and adaptable enough, actually even enjoy the ride. Okay. I think I'm going to leave this reading here. Is there any... Oh, charms. We were going to do charms. Right. Let me mix them up. Okay. I'm not going to look. I'm just going to grab. Let's see what we get. Ooh, we have a mermaid. And a seashell. Okay. So I do feel like this is her way of navigating. I don't know why I'm getting that. It's not like this is a compass. It's a freaking seashell. But there's something about the mermaid and the shell that she uses to navigate. Maybe it's like a phone and she's got GPS in here or something. Or she listens to the heart of the ocean. And because she's connected to that, she's able to navigate through the kelp forest, the deep unconscious. I don't know why I'm getting that from that, but that's what I'm getting. We've got a white cross, a palm tree. The cross is reminding me of the altar. So again, it's like finding something that's sacred to you or a symbol of that, or going to a place that feels sacred. And it doesn't have to be a church. It can literally be, like they said in the book, a forest, or it could be in your bedroom or wherever. This palm tree is reminding me of a couple of different things, like peace, through taking some time to relax, vacationing, and it's also reminding me of a journey. Because we were getting that message. It's like this whole process, this whole phase is a journey. And maybe this will actually be calling you to different locations to explore certain things. It's also a tree, but I don't normally think of palm trees as like forests, you know? But I mean, like, maybe that's a limited way of thinking for me too. Anyway, we've got the cat on a branch. This one always talks to me about going out on a limb, risking something to learn something. In this case, I'm seeing it as curiosity, seeking out something that's high up because you're curious about it, and ideally not getting stuck there. I know cats can get stuck in trees sometimes, so like not getting stuck there. Even if it is a dead end, you can crawl your way back down if you need to. And we've got the eye and the moon. I see in the darkness. I see in the darkness. Grape juice. It's like grapes in a jar. This feels like success. I don't know why, but it feels like sweetness and it feels like joy. I'm hearing something about humble beginnings. Okay, we do have beginnings and success. So maybe you start out with humble beginnings and you end up getting to that level of sweetness through the application of some new skill is kind of what it feels like, through the application of a new skill. Okay, and then we have coffee. Oh, and right as I held it up, I heard time to wake up. And the moon and the eye, yeah, it's like being awake in the night, coffee, being awake in the night. So this eclipse season is a call to take a look at some shadow archetypes that have been kind of simmering underneath the surface for you. Maybe these are aspects of yourself that you feel are stopping you from your success, that you keep kind of hitting up against dead ends, and you need to kind of take a look, or we collectively need to take a look at where we can break down some of those old patterns and transform them into something that's healing for us, that allows us to achieve more peace, because that's the success. The peace is the offering, and if you're offering peace, what are you going to get back from that? Probably a lot more peace. I feel like I'm missing something. Hold on. Oh, okay. There's a couple more things here. 2 fell out into my lap. We've got the wrench and this little sea urchin guy that always reminds me of evolution. Evolution over long periods of time, and the wrench. So this is a time to just kind of like fix something up in the evolutionary process. Within ourselves, we have to break down what isn't working so we can make room, or we can use that energy more efficiently towards what we actually want to build. And then we've got the music note as well. And the music note talks about frequency. So, oh, and the siren, we have the mermaid, and the siren message was coming up in one of the previous videos. So take some time to listen to the call. What call? The call of your soul, the call of the wild. That's a book, but the call of something within you that's awakening a deeper part of you. And maybe it's these wild parts of the self that need to be domesticated. They need to be brought into the home, into the safety. They need to be fed, nurtured, and nourished so that they can let go or drop those guards while still understanding that those boundaries of the four walls keep you safe. So there's something about going outside the comfort zone or welcoming something that is uncomfortable into the comfort zone and being able to metamorphosize or transform it from there. And if you're not comfortable doing this on your own, then look to a mentor, somebody who is skilled in this, who can read the room and who can help you to see something and pronounce it verbatim. I just heard pronounce it verbatim. What are you talking about? To pronounce something, to speak the words definitively. Not just about pronunciation as in how we say the words, but I'm talking like to pronounce it, to proclaim it almost. Somebody who can help you to see what you need to do and then to make it so. Or to take that kind of, that path with determination. So yeah, step out of the known, go into the unknown. There's going to be some surprises there that are going to unlock a major adventure for you. So maybe this is psychological. Maybe this is shadow work. It definitely, I'm not even going to say maybe. This feels like a lot of shadow work. And so much more. So let yourself discover through this phase, through this process, what wants to come up. Embrace what feels difficult, stubborn, icky, uncomfortable, parts of you that you've judged, because this is going to lead to a lot more peace. And seek silence, times of solitude where you can really dive deeper within the self and reflect on these themes that are coming up or presenting for you through eclipse season. Now we're going to do a sort of follow-up or secondary reading to this reading on my other channel. It's Tarot and Beyond. It's going to be a pick a card style, and it'll have a little bit more personal messages for you, although these collective readings can still have personal themes in them as well, or may apply directly. But on the pick a card style readings, we're able to go a little deeper into more of a personal perspective with the three groups. So if you're interested, keep an eye out for that. By the time this is up, I'll probably have that up as well. And the link will be in the description box below. Thank you guys for being here on the Divine Channel and supporting my work here, bringing through these messages from Spirit. And thank you for helping me to work through them as we process these collective themes. Let me know how this energy is resonating with you or what's been coming up for you through the beginning phases of the retrogrades and the eclipse season. I know it's been a lot for me, so yeah, but I'd love to hear from you. Thank you again to Michelle and Mache for the deck donations and for the charms. I really appreciate all of the support for my work here on the channel. I love you guys, and we'll see you in the next reading. Bye.